Hey, hello and welcome. This is the Ascension Football Show. I am Joel Villafana. Zonal football takes the spotlight today. How important is zonal football? What role does it play in our national footballing landscape? Here's what's coming up.
I have had a passion for football and for sport, as a matter of fact, from a very young age.
It's a big partnership, and we appreciate that.
We have some of the top players in Trinidad and Tobago playing at the club presently, so
We continue to dig deep into the zones here in Trinidad and Tobago, the footballing zones. Over the last couple of weeks, we have been going and opening up the zones to you, showing you how important the zonal football is to the overall landscape of football here in TNT. So now we are joined, continuing that zonal effort, we're joined by the Eastern Counties, and he's the Vice President. Joining us on set, he's none other than Mr. Ian Pritchard. Mr. Pritchard, welcome.
Thank you very much, Joel, and thank you for having me on the show.
So I think the first question that football fans will probably want to gather and understand is what area does the Eastern Counties cover?
Well, the Eastern Counties, the full name of the zone is the Eastern Counties Football Union. Most people know us by the acronym ECFU. Right. And that covers from as far in the southwest as Rio Claro, along to Mayaro, Mafeking, Manzanilla, Beach and environs. Then we go to San Grande and environs, Valencia, and as far northeast as Matlot. So geographically, we are the largest zone.
There's a huge catchment area there.
Catchment area in football in Trinidad and Tobago.
How long have you been involved at the administration level in the zone?
I have been involved at the administration level more than 10 years. I have had a passion for football and for sport, as a matter of fact, from a very young age. I happen to be from the zone as well. I'm originally from the village of Kumana Toko. So I'm a very eastern boy, northeastern boy. I played football, wasn't really good at it, but
not all of us are. I mean,
yeah.
Some of us, yeah.
But I always loved the administration of football and sport, and because of my passion for seeing young people develop, I was encouraged to join the Eastern Counties Football Union administration. And I took it up with both hands, and here I am today as the Vice President of the Eastern County.
One of the major things you mentioned there is the development of young players. I'm getting that the zone's sort of responsible for bringing through that talent. What has been the work that you would have done over the last decade in terms of seeing young talent come through the zone?
Well, let me take you back even before my tenure in the administration. So as a young man playing, the zone would have done a lot for young players like myself when we were playing in terms of development. The president of the zone right now is Mr. Showin Dyer, and he has been there for quite a while. And they have been doing tremendous work in terms of football in the zone. What we have targeted to do going forward, as a matter of fact, because we have not been able to do it in the past recent years, is to have a youth development program. We have quite a few players who would have made the national team from youth teams up to senior teams. And just to mention a few, we have persons like Anton Wolf and Glenton Wolf, the Wolf brothers from that zone. We have Colin Samuel, we have the Ralph and Peter Alfred, brothers from Mayaro. When we go to Toko, we talk about somebody like with the name Eric Miller, who would have played together with persons like Russell Latapi and those guys in those days. We have Joseph Ramlogan also from Toko, and those would have been persons who would have been developed through the youth development program that was in the Eastern Counties over those years past and gone. There was an exodus of that type of development for a period of time because, of course, funding has always been an issue and a problem. And with it being such a wide zone and the catchment area being so wide, it's difficult for teams to get from point A to point B. However, we have realized that without having a development system, then we'll just be continually playing set match, playing football, without anything developing for the next group of young players to come through and shine through onto the national program. So that is one of the first and the most important things and the key things that we're going to do going forward from the tenure this year onward, is to have a youth development program so that we can identify much more young talent that can go on to represent not only the zone, but the Trinidad and Tobago as well.
Mm-hmm. Talk to me about the grounds, because you mentioned funding. Where that's a large catchment area, as you mentioned there. Where are these games played? How do teams travel? That's a lot. I'm seeing there in terms of the
Yes.
catchment area.
In an effort to assist with the traveling woes that teams are faced
Yeah.
with,
How many teams in the zone?
well, it's in excess of 20 teams.
Right. Yeah.
If at any one time all the teams participate, right? What we have done over the years is to break the area up into two zones.
Right. Makes sense.
So we have the area of Mayaro, Mafican, Rio Claro, Manzanilla Beach in one zone. Then we have the San Grande teams together with Valencia teams and the Toco teams in another zone. That even is a problem because when you think about the team from Toco traveling to as far as San Grande to play, or to Komoto as well to play, it's still a long journey. In terms of the grounds, we have had some assistance over the years from the regional corporation in terms of the preparation of the grounds. But what we have found, for example, in Matura, some teams take the responsibility for having their grounds prepared so that the ground will be ready and available for when matches come up. So in the zone, we have two teams that play as high as the Super League. So we have the Guayara United team, and who's part of that zone, and we have the Matura Reunited team, who's also part of that zone. In years gone by, we had Northeast Stars, one of the bright, shining Pro League teams who would have won the Pro League. I think it's in their first or second year in the league. But in terms of the grounds, much more can be done and needs to be done. Just recently, we had persons in communities who, not being paid to do it, but because of the state that they see the ground in, take it upon themselves to cut, mark, prepare the grounds, so that when football is ready to be played, it will be in a state of readiness. But as I said, much more can be done and needs to be done by the regional corporations, so that we have the grounds ready and available. But each team has their home ground, and it makes for exciting competition and home and away rivalry amongst the communities in the Eastern Counties.
And you were speaking of funding. I mean, I know football overall, I'm talking at the national level, it has been wanting of funding that I'm supposing trickles down to the zones as well. You struggle where that is
Most
concerned.
definitely, we have struggled over the years for funding for quite a while. Our last season, which was 2019, we were thankful, and we have to say that we are thankful to the National Lottery Control Board, who provided us with some funding to assist with the league, and that assisted greatly. We were able to have the league in 2019 with a participation of 8 teams in the first instance. And kudos to the winners of that, the eventual winners who were Valencia Young Lions. And that's a young team that's developing the Valencia area. Valencia has produced quite a number of top players as well. Alvin Boazor, who went on to represent the national team, and most persons know him as Sweetbread. But what we have realized is that because of the wide spans in terms of the geographical location of the teams in the zone, that transportation continues to be a problem, and we are continuing to reach out to corporate Eastern counties, so the corporate sponsors in the Eastern counties, to assist. Now, persons talk about sponsorship and partnership and how do you marry your sponsors with your zone. And what we have realized also is that unless you have a product, your sponsors will not, what's in it for them? Over the years, the Eastern counties did not have that product to attract sponsorship. That is also going to be one of the things that we are going to tap into to ensure that the product of the Eastern counties, from the youth development programs straight up to the competition at the zonal level. And I must say, once we get into our program and that product is developed, I can see an Eastern counties team reaching as far as the Pro League and winning again. Once we develop that product, sponsors will come on board.
Yeah, so you jumped into my final question, and I wanted to elaborate a bit because under your administration now, based on what you would have seen done over the last decade, let's just say, what's the vision going forward now? What's the objective and the plan for the zone in terms of improving what already exists?
Now, as I mentioned, one of our main things is to develop the product. And in developing the product, we have started reaching out to potential sponsors. And it's quite pleasing to say that the Ascension Football League and the Ascension Football Tournament has agreed to sponsor the Eastern Counties for the upcoming season and beyond. And through the continuous development of that product of football in the Eastern Counties, we hope to have that relationship built in such a way that the Ascension Football League will have absolutely no other choice but to want to continue to be partners with the Eastern Counties and to continue to sponsor the league as we develop as well to become self-sustainable so that we don't have to always depend on reaching out for funding. But there are issues and there are things that we plan to do within the zone to help to raise funds, to help to reach out to other sponsors. But at this point in time, the Ascension Football Tournament has agreed 100% to sponsor the Eastern Counties for this season going forward. All right. Another thing that we want to, as I mentioned before, we want to ensure that the grounds are up to a certain standard so that the best type of football can be played, reducing injuries. We also want to do training programs for our young coaches. We want to build the capacity of our young people in terms of strength and conditioning, in terms of rehab work, so that in the Eastern Counties, we'll have all the manpower necessary to ensure that football and the athletes are well taken care of going forward and leading into, as I said, representation of the national team.
And the hard work in the zone continues.
It certainly does. It certainly does. It's really hard work. And as I said, the Eastern Counties being such a large geographical area, it's 10 times harder than the other zones. But we are not giving up. We have seen the fruits of our labor in the past. And we believe once we put our hands and stick to the wheel, and with persons like the Ascension coming on board, we can continue to produce top footballers from that region of the Eastern Counties Football Union.
Good stuff. Ian Prashad, thank you very much for joining us on the Ascension Football Show. The Eastern Counties, the largest division in terms of zonal football here in Trinidad and Tobago, and obviously some good men and hard-working people of that catchment area in the country, making sure that football stays alive and continues to bubble. We're coming right back, guys. Stay with us. This is the Ascension Football Show.
The situation we have here is that these characters, and I refer to them as pests, right? What they are doing is destroying our country, but not on my watch. No street, no turf, no block shall belong to these cockroaches, right? It's no longer business as usual. Happy hour is over. If they don't fear God, at least they will fear Terminix.
Have you considered how your methods could impact on pests across the country?
I find we look after the rights of pests as opposed to the rights of the 1.3 million law-abiding citizens in Trinidad and Tobago. I wonder if Roach Ladden's son come here for the carnival, if you'll interview him, eh?
But how could you defend one shot, one kill?
What, you want me to throw a pillow at him?
I didn't say that.
No, well, if a roach jumps in front of you now, what will you do?
Run.
Oh, Jesus, Lord Father.
Pests bothering you? Call Terminix at 672-5007 or 672-0042 or visit our website at terminix.co.tt for a free quote and consultation. Join our fight against pests.
Get in the game with Ascension. Quality for champions. Hey, Ascension! Ascension! Premium quality and style make you stand out all the time. Ascension is quality for champions. Ascension fit is always right. Take your game to higher heights. Ascension got the quality for champions. So everybody say, hey, oh, we wearing Ascension when we play. To run out on the field in style. What's the brand that we want? Ascension, Ascension, Ascension. We wearing what we wearing is Ascension. Quality for a champion. Ascension. We wearing what we wearing is Ascension. Quality for a champion. Ascension. We wearing what we wearing is Ascension. Get in the game with Ascension. Quality for champions.
Amante Del Cafe is located at Magnificent Mall, number 271 Southern Main Road, McBean, Couva. Amante Del Cafe. Happiness begins with brew.
Lasso Freight Maritime Limited, the best in marina services. At our facilities, security checks ensures that all vehicles are secured. Our newly renovated bathrooms are always kept in a clean working order. Need repairs and maintenance? We have you covered. Our qualified workmen will get the job done. Boat storages. From our marina, you can easily push off for a family sailing trip. Or out fishing with the boys. Or a fun DDI experience with friends. Boat repairs, secured parking, extensive camera system, boat charters, boat rentals, down the island parties. Contact us at 1-868-634-1653. Lasso Freight Maritime Limited, the best in marina services. Life's better on a boat.
All right, so we're back. The Ascension Football Show continues. And as I told you, we are doing all the zones, up and down the zones. So we're now going to focus on the East Zone. The president of the East Zone is here. You may have seen him on the show popping up a few times. He is Kieran Edwards. Mr. Edwards.
Pleasure to be here, Joel.
Welcome back.
Yes, man. Thanks.
So different hat. You wear a few hats, eh?
Yeah.
And now you're wearing the hat as the East Zone president. Recently installed as the East Zone president.
Not recently. I over a year.
Recent.
In a 4-year term, it's not as recent as taken into consideration.
Got your feet wet?
Yeah, I think I got my feet wet right off the back foot.
Yeah. In terms of football administration, this is your first major assignment?
Yeah, my first major assignment in terms of a regional or a national approach to football.
Yeah.
Normally it's been local with my clubs, being the president or chairman of a local club football-wise. And now it's being the president of the zone. So it's in my first.
Tell me first about your own ambitions in terms of getting into football administration.
The push really came in the last couple of years. I was a former player, getting injured, being out of the game. Really started to pick up administration from a local club, my homegrown club, and seeing how things was going in the East Zone, not going too good. Really, persons pushed me and asked me, well, if you could come and give a hand in terms of a consultancy basis in the earlies, and then when the opportunity arises in terms of becoming the president, I rose to the occasion and took up the presidency of the East Zone.
Mm-hmm. You're saying things weren't going well in the East Zone. What's the status in your mind now? I know football is not playing, but what's the status of the East Zone? How would you describe it now?
I think the East Zone is better now in terms of the running of it. In the earlies, there were some concerns of. The earlies, the two former presidents, there were some concerns of lack of communication. We changed that around. We started a group. We have regular meetings. We started the WhatsApp group because it's the age of communication. and where we have discussions on various matters. So that level of connectivity it's good. I think the members appreciate it, and we hope to continue and build on it. Once we are allowed to gather more, we'll have more meetings, regular meetings, and monthly meetings with the clubs to really build on the zone and continue that level of success we have been seeing in the last couple of months.
I think it was so important when the Ascension brand gave the zones that boost, that financial boost, and partnered with the zones. I mean, for the E-Zone, this partnership I know will be very, very important. For many, many years, the zones would have been, just kind of flauntering there, operating as best as they could. But this partnership, what does it mean for the E-Zone?
It means everything. I want to be real. It means everything to any zone. I could speak for all the zones. The real issue behind zonal problems would be financing. Would be the we normally create revenue from clubs paying affiliation fees, registration fees, tournament fees, and then you utilize that by offsetting costs with when it comes to referees, which is the major cost in running any league, and then you have prize monies. And in the past, it's been a challenge. Clubs would challenge to pay, and you would give, as you say in Trinidad, you would give a blind, persons would pay half and then promise to pay the remaining half sometime during the league. And then the club might be bottom of the league. And instead of paying, they would drop out of the league. And that would be a real challenge for the zone. With the Ascension coming in and partnering with the zones, this means now that the Ascension would really be paying that registration fee or the tournament fee for the clubs. That in turn would alleviate two problems. Clubs dropping out because they don't have the funds to pay the total registration, and as well as the zones having the money to run and to operate. So the Ascension, one, removing the registration, the tournament fees for clubs would encourage more clubs to come into the zone. And two, they are already committing to paying referees and paying prize monies. So now any revenue generated by the zone could go to the programs we spoke about earlier, your youth development, to your elite program development, to assisting clubs in ensuring that grounds are prepared on time. Because we lean heavily on the corporations to maintain the grounds. But our corporation will operate. If the workers have 5 grounds to cut and you need one of the grounds and it's not on the rotation for that week, and the rainfall, grass high, referees can't see the lines, the game might be postponed. So if we are having that level of partnership from the Ascension, we are hoping to have our ground staff to make sure that all grounds are prepared in time for games, so that you have no postponements of games. So it's a big partnership, and we appreciate that the Ascension group for making that push to partner with all these zones.
Yeah, it was very important.
I
think it was the first time in me looking back at national football and zonal football that a major
that dealt with all these zones. This is the first time in the history of football locally that somebody has come partnered with all the zones, and has basically really partnered with grassroots football and development football for the future of Trinidad. And I think they must be commended for doing that. I am also part of the Ascension group, but the owner, Mr. Ferguson, in terms of his vision to really push the group to do something like that, I think must be commended. And it's something futuristic by him, that futuristic thinking to do something such as this.
I think we can only see the benefit on the field of play as time goes on.
On all levels. It might be a partnership with the zone, but it would be a fruit within professional football and semi-professional football in years to come.
So, Mr. Edwards, you have been very vocal and were very vocal when it came to the little period that Trinidad and Tobago's football would have been going through, when the normalization committee was trying to sort things out. You were playing a major role where that was concerned, and you kind of ensured that the normalization committee came into being and football at least kind of got back on some level playing field. Why was it so important for you to be so vocal and to play such an instrumental role at that stage of the game?
For me, it really boils down to the reason for me getting into administration. In the early years, I would have, as I mentioned, I would have been playing a consultancy role around the East Zone. And when I was asked to take up the mantle of president and became the president of the East Zone, it was on the basis of we need to change things. It can't be business as usual. We need to change how things are, how administrators administer the game. We need to hold ourselves to a higher standard before we want to hold players to a higher standard. And it's just based on that is why I was vocal in terms of the whole transition from the board to the normalization in terms of the running of football locally. It came down to one thing: the law is the law. The rules are FIFA has the right to do such and such, and within our constitution, you must uphold that. There are times where you could change it. There were times to change it. It was never changed. This is the constitution. We need to uphold the constitution of football. And we need to pass that down to players. We need to pass that down to administrators. They need to understand, if you are into something, the rules are the rules. And it's basically that's the basis of me coming out and saying, all right, FIFA has the right to do such. These are the reasons they did it on. We need to honor that. And it's on that.
How happy are you now? I mean, it's been almost a year that the normalization committee, Mr. Haddad and his team have been working. Happy with how things are going? I know football, as I said, we're not playing football, and that probably is the ultimate test. But happy with at least how administratively things are happening, where the normalization committee is concerned.
From 1 to 10, I'll give him a 5.
I'll give him a 5.
Because of the time frame. Yes, it's been a little over a year, but in truth and in fact, because of the battles, it's been a couple of months he has been in total control of local football. There are some things he could do better. But I believe that the whole situation in local football had him in a spot, and he needs to. The trust issue. Trust is a very big thing currently. I think he needs to be a little more trusting of persons within football. As much as persons may want to believe that because of the debt, and they hear the number of the debt, 70 million plus. I think it was last mentioned. 100 million, I think, was mentioned once as well. They may think that Trinidad administrators are not good for the sport, which is not true. We are the smallest country with the most amount of World Cups attended. This is on women's, youth, senior. Smallest country with so many World Cups attended. So we have been doing something right through the years. We have players played internationally, won Champions League that everybody's watching every day, that excelled at the highest level. We have top players. So the administration and the structure of local football was at a height. The last couple of years had some issues. I believe the approach of the administration at one point to more focus on structures more than the football, and not have that balance played a big part in it. But there are good administrators in the country, and Mr. Haddad needs to reach out to persons that may be able to help and assist. And I think he would be better. He'd be better suited if he asks for some help sometime. It's not. No one believed that Mr. Haddad knew all the answers for football, or the normal. I don't want to put it on Mr. Haddad as alone. Or the normalization committee, when FIFA installed them, had all the answers for football. So we knew that he would have to reach out to persons, and the sooner he does that, I think it will be better when it comes to football. There are some mandates, as I mentioned before. I am heavy on transparency and being able to account for your actions. And and being able to understand that it's not yourself you're doing it for. It's not a private entity. This is a national entity we are running. And we need to be a little more open in terms of the operations of what is happening. FIFA gave some mandates, and it's nice to get some updates along the way. I'm part of the football fraternity in terms of the voting and the structure of Trinidad and Tobago football. We would like to know where are you a year on or a couple months on? Where are you? Where are we going? What's the ideas? If we have any input in any of these things, what was the next step? What's needed from us? Recently, we heard the president of CONCACAF said that the stakeholders in Trinidad need to step up and play a major role in terms of what is happening in Trinidad football. We are stakeholders. We want to know, what do you need from us? Because we are here, we are willing to assist in many fronts. What do you need? So I think once that is figured out, how he would operate and how he'll incorporate the stakeholders in football, I think the market go up a bit.
The communication lines.
The line of communication needs to be better.
You also wear another hat, as I said. You're the tournament director of the Ascension Football League. Yeah. And based on that role, have you been in touch with Mr. Haddad in terms of, do you have that open communication with him where, that you can call him, he can call you and say, hey, you saw this thing out, let's do this differently. Do you have that level of communication?
Yeah, I have a line of communication to him. I could pick up the phone and call him, and if most times he will return my calls, and we will have because of what I do with the Ascension brand, we cross paths a lot in terms of football. So we've been in communications a lot on different fronts.
Right.
So, but to say that in terms of what is happening with day-to-day football, if I have a role to play or I'm playing a role in that, no. Alongside the normalization committee, no. But I have a relationship with Mr. Haddad.
Yeah. Any influence on him at all? If you call him and say, Mr. Haddad, so instead of doing so.
I really like to. It's not for me. It's never what influence you have over somebody. It's for me. It's about giving my opinion.
Yeah.
And if he sees it fit to say it's okay, at the end of the day, he would live and die by his decisions as the head of the NC. That's fact.
Mm-hmm.
So I would give the best advice as I could give at any point in time, whenever it's needed, if it's needed, and he would make his decision, and the NC would make their decision.
And I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I think what you said in that Mr. Haddad. I mean, we all know he's a businessman in this country, but
successful one of
that. And he may not know the ins and outs of football. And may need to lean on footballing minds a bit just to ensure that he has that line of communication open.
Yeah. I think it's there for him.
Yeah.
And I know the major mandate from FIFA would be, one, the debt and figuring out a repayment plan.
And that hasn't been tabled yet. I haven't heard anything from the NC. From the normalization committee.
I have not seen any. I have not seen any. And then the statutes, bringing the statutes of TTFA in line with the statutes of FIFA.
Right.
So I know those two things are major in terms of what we do going forward.
But we haven't anything from the normalization committee with regards to those two issues.
Not well.
Debt?
No. I have not heard anything just yet on that.
Just to make it very clear, Mr. Haddad and his normalization committee has up to March 26, 2022. That's a 2-year deadline. To kind of just reorganize football a bit before. Let me make it very clear. Let's just to correct me if I'm wrong. Before an election, an annual general meeting is held to install a new president.
Yeah, well, the mandate that is one of the points on the mandate to set up and have election after the 2 years is up. So that will be part of his mandate later on in the 2-year period to have an election, to organize the election.
I mean, you're president of the East Zone now, Mr. Edwards. Any ambitions and probably in terms of other, probably higher office in football at all? You see yourself serving national football?
I see myself, maybe not in the near future.
Yeah.
Not
in 2022.
No, nothing. I'm not seeing
when
it.
Mr. Haddad releases control.
At this time, I'm not seeing myself getting into that in 2022. Who knows? I might be asked, but to say that I have the ambition to do. But maybe in 10 years, I could see myself playing a part in whatever capacity. Equipment manager or something.
Yeah.
So, but let's get it. But in whatever capacity, playing some part within the national structure. But for now, it's my focus is on having the zone running, up and running, and really putting a mark on local football, because it's not just a zone, but it's to really have that structure throughout Trinidad football, grassroots structure, the bottom-up approach to football, and which was there in the past. But we had to get back to it. I think we went away a bit from, we are more studying who is the president, more than what we're doing. If somebody, we no matter who is the president, we in football, the football fraternity has to operate in. And if the structures are not there, we'll have problems throughout. If the more FIFA says, look the checkbook, how much will they say? 100 million? All right, write 100 million. Debt paid. Then what? Are we going back to the same old? We need to fix the structures. And I commend the CONCACAF president for making that call for administrators to understand that they have a role to play. It's not that FIFA is here or CONCACAF is here with a normalization committee and they're going to be here forever. We have to create the structures that would have a strong federation, football federation, a football fraternity for years to come. And we have the time now. And as I mentioned in the past, the normalization committee coming on is a blessing for Trinidad. Now we have a time to reset. We saw what we were doing wrong. We saw what we were doing right. Because we had times where professional football at a height, youth football, grassroots football at a height, national team qualifying for World Cups. Good times. We need to understand that and understand that we need to get back to that. But we need to shed the bad things as well. We need to shed the things of wastage. We need to say when something is right, it's right. When it's wrong, it's wrong. It's not that this person is my friend or I'm good with that person. We need to stand up. Administrators and the Minister of Sport having a meeting with all the administrations in the height of this, the problem last year in 2020, call out the administrators and said, you need to do better. You need to do better. Don't feel that the future of our country is not in your hands. Football is the number one sport in the country. We're talking about, when you talk grassroots development, we're talking over 5,000 youths yearly playing football at a zonal level. Youth football I'm talking about, zonally. And if the administrators are not together and on point in terms of what we are doing for these youths' future, then we are in problems. So it's that important it's that important when it comes to football. It's that important.
Mr. Edwards, I want to thank you very much for dropping by.
Anytime.
And with your passion, I think for what I'm seeing for the game and your role as the EZO president, I mean, continue doing your do and making sure that we continue to reorganize football, because yes, we've been through some turbulent times, and I think this little period is a good period, as Mr. Edwards suggested, for us just back, as the youth say, and come again, right? So we promised you over the period that we will really look at some of the zones and the importance these zones have played. And Mr. Edwards is wrapping up on the East Zone, and we have all seen how important grassroots football is here in TNT. Let's focus on that and let's see how that goes. We're keeping our eyes as well on the Normalization Committee as they do their thing in terms of sorting out the issues here in Trinidad and Tobago's football. Taking a break. When we come back, players to watch. We take in another look at another young player here in Trinidad and Tobago.
Pest control is a pain, but you don't have to go it alone. If you're a business that needs someone who will fix your problems point blank, go with the brand that's tested. Go with Terminix. Born almost a century ago in Memphis, Tennessee, Terminix International's mission has been to spread its innovations across the world through its integrated pest and termite management system, reducing the infestation of pests and vermin. Our Trinidad franchise neutralizes the threat of tropical insects and ensures that companies, from food production to hospitality, protect their investment and get the maximum value from our relationship. And we've been doing it well for over 20 years. Termites and pests are relentless, but they're no match for Terminix. Contact us today for a free consultation and quote, and let's introduce you to convenience. Protect your premises today. Choose a service provider that persists. Talk to Terminix.
Pests bothering you? Call Terminix at 672-5007 or 672-0042 or visit our website at terminix.co.tt for a free quote and consultation. Join our fight against pests.
Get in the game with Ascension. Quality for champions.
Hey, Ascension! Ascension! Premium quality and style make you stand out all the time. Ascension is quality for champions. Ascension fit is always right. Take your game to higher heights. Ascension got the quality for champions. Now everybody say, hey, oh, we wearing Ascension when we play. To run out on the field in style. What's the brand that we want? Ascension! 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 We wearing what we wearing is Ascension. Quality for a champion. Ascension! We wearing what we wearing is Ascension.
Get in the game with Ascension. Quality for champions. Lasso Frame Maritime Limited, the best in marina services. At our facilities, security checks ensures that all vehicles are secured. Our newly renovated bathrooms are always kept in a clean working order. Need repairs and maintenance? We have you covered. Our qualified workmen will get the job done. Boat storages, from our marina, you can easily push off for a family sailing trip. Or out fishing with the boys. Or a fun DDI experience with friends. Boat repairs, secured parking, extensive camera system, boat charters, boat rentals, down the island parties. Contact us at 1-868-634-1653. Lasso Frame Maritime Limited, the best in marina services. Life's better on a boat.
Cafe is located at Magnificent Mall, number 271 Southern Main Road, McBean, Couva. Amanzi Del Cafe. Happiness begins with brew.
Not exactly, but it was a very young age, like around 11, 12 years old. That was the first time I actually kicked a ball. Favorite childhood football memory is, I'll say traveling to our next country. When I was playing with Club Sando, which was going Barbados. I'll say at around 14, 15, when I was playing school football, I played like the secondary school football league. Then I got called up on the national team, so then I realized that I have talent to reach far in the sport. My first break was with Club Sano, actually. I was with the youth team and I got called up to like train with the senior team. But it was a good feeling because I played with some of the top players in the country and I was at a young age, so it was always a great feeling to be playing with those guys. Centre back, and my strength is tackling, composure, and heading the ball. Coach Terence Marcel, I'll say that because he was the one that brought me into Pleasantville and he developed me a lot in the sport. Yes, it was a really good feeling because I really worked hard since growing up. I was training hard with all these teams and it was a very nice opportunity for me and I take it. Debut game, played against, I don't think I remember the exact team, but it was in Atobolan Stadium. Stepping onto the field was a very memorable moment for me because it was my first time playing for a national team. It meant everything because I always want to perform for my country in any way I could. Very nice experience because I have some of the top players in Trinidad and Tobago playing at the club presently, so it's very good to be training with them and developing your skills and whatnot. Well, my goals and ambition is securing a contract in Europe and making my family and friends proud. I've made a big impact to the country and the community that I live in because a lot of youths looked up to me in the community and they know I play football and stuff like that, so I don't want to disappoint them. I am Johannes Richardson and I represent Terminex Lauketa Rangers.
I hope you have been enjoying our Coach's Corner. I know I have been. Here's my boy Ansel Elcock for another one.
Thanks, Joel. Today we are doing defensive heading. As a defender, if the ball is on the right side of the field, you want to stand up on the left side of the attacker. Right? If it's on the right side of the field, you want to stand up on the right side of the attacker. Right? What you want to do, the closer you are to your goal, you want to get up, head the ball, open up, make yourself as big as possible, head the ball a height and distance. Higher up, you go up the field, you try to get up, head the ball, but better defenders, higher up the field, what you want to do is head the ball down to your teammates, which is called composure. Today we have Isaiah Lee and Johannes Richardson to demonstrate defending heading. Individual defending height and distance without an opponent. Good. Make sure you balance, eh? Make sure you balance. Good. 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 Come in. That was defensive heading. Back to you, Joel.
Yeah, we've been digging into the zones, guys. Hope you're getting a lot of the information coming out of the zones and seeing where we are with regards to our zonal football here in Trinidad and Tobago. That's another show. We'll see you back here next week for another Ascension football.